I just watched The Empty Man, and
Empty.
I'm not happy about it.
Empty.
Usually I'll watch a movie a couple times just to make sure I have the story straight before I do my review.
Empty.
But I'm not going to watch this again.
Empty.
So I apologize if I get a few things wrong.
Empty.
The Empty Man came out in 2020. It's about an urban legend where if you're walking across a bridge and you come across an empty bottle, you can summon the Empty Man by blowing into the bottle and saying his name.
We gotta try it.
Try what?
Calling the empty man.
This is such a weirdly specific ritual, walking across a bridge and then interacting with some discarded piece of trash. What next? If you're walking alone in an empty playground, you come across broken glasses. Whatever you do, don't put them on your face upside down, or else you'll summon a scary penguin. Once the Empty Man is summoned, he stalks you for 3 days until he finally possesses you and makes you kill yourself. This sounds like something I've seen before. The movie opens up back in 1995 with a small group of mountain climbers somewhere out in the Himalayan mountains or something. One of the climbers, Paul, stumbles upon these weird humanish remains and he goes into a trance state. 3 days later, the other members kill themselves, leaving Paul all alone. After that, we jump forward to 2018, even though this movie came out in 2020. We meet James, a former detective who is investigating the disappearance of a high school girl, Amanda. He tracks down one of Amanda's friends.
Excuse me, DeVar? DeVar Walsh? Hi, I'm James Asambra. I'm a friend of Amanda's.
She tells him that a few nights ago, they performed the Empty Man ritual. Well, the next day, he finds them all dead. And wouldn't you know it, it looks like they killed themselves. He does a little more investigation and he discovers a cult devoted to the Empty Man. They have wild theories about the power of thought, and if you think long and hard enough about something, it will eventually come into existence. Where have I heard that before? Now, whenever someone from the cult tells James about something supernatural or overly philosophical, he just responds with,
Oh yeah, no, I get all that. I grew up in San Francisco. No, please, I grew up in San Francisco.
I grew up in San Francisco.
What the hell is that even supposed to mean? I could tell you I've been to San Francisco many times and I've never heard anyone talking about these weird supernatural culty things. I have seen a lot of homeless though. Are they in a cult? James finally tracks down the cult leader. Apparently this man in a coma is possessed by the Empty Man, and he's able to transmit his thoughts to the other members in the cult. The man in a coma also turns out to be Paul, that mountain climber from the beginning of the movie. Paul's body is dying, so the cult needs another body for the Empty Man to possess. So get this, they revealed to James that he was created by the cult for the Empty Man to inhabit. Yeah, remember that idea that if you think about something long enough, it comes into existence? Well, the cult thought about James until he just poof into existence. So this begs the question, by any reasonable viewer, why didn't they just think him into existence right there in the hospital, next to the Empty Man? No, instead, they thought up some random dude who had to spend the entire movie investigating the disappearance of a girl, and then a group of her friends, and then a cult, just to find the Empty Man. And not only that, they thought him into existence with a tragic backstory where his wife and kid died in a car accident. And they died while he was having an affair. So he just feels guilty the whole movie. Can they have given him a more dramatic backstory? Yeah, you know what they left out? When he was a kid, he had to shoot his own dog because it was rabid. And that was after his best friend died from bee stings.
Put his glasses on. Put on his glasses.
The cult had one job. Create a person that the Empty Man can possess before the body he's currently in dies. Sounds like a pressing issue to me. But instead of taking care of it right away, they think up some man with a guilt-ridden past who has to go through some long and boring investigation before he finally ends up where he's supposed to be in the first place.
Shut up and get to the point!
This movie is awful. And to be honest with you, I don't think we were ever meant to watch this movie in the first place. Hear me out. When this whole COVID shutdown first hit, there were plenty of movies already in the pipeline that were in late production. So we got a steady flow of normal movies for a while. But when these movies started drying up, the production companies had nothing else to release. The COVID shutdowns prevented them from filming anything new. So they were forced to start going through their back catalog of terrible unreleased movies, like The Empty Man. This movie came out in 2020. Late 2020, mind you. But for some reason, it takes place in 2018. Yeah, this is because the movie was probably supposed to come out in 2018. But it got shelved for 2 years because it was just that bad. But here we are, in the middle of COVID lockdowns where production companies have nothing else to release, so they dig through their archives so they can get at least something out, and they don't even have the decency to go back and edit the date to make this movie at least seem more modern. In fact, they didn't even go back and edit the production company logo. 20th Century Fox changed their name to 20th Century Studios back in January of 2020. That's 10 months before this movie came out. But back in 2018, when this movie was canned, this was the current logo. And this got me thinking, I wonder what other lousy movies are out there that are completely finished, but we never got to see. I know it's got to be bad, but I want to see the third Alien vs. Predator movie. And I wonder how many Spider-Man reboots there really are. Well, luckily I had a $1.25 off coupon for Redbox, and I only had to spend 60 cents on this movie. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that I had to spend money on this movie. Please don't do that. In fact, even if you come across this movie for free, you might want to avoid it just to save your time. But if you do, for some reason, feel compelled to watch this movie, just know that I warned you.
You've got the itch in the brain.
I grew up in San Francisco.
Thanks for watching, everyone. My name's Kenny. And until next time, let's not just watch movies. Let's talk about them, too. Even the bad ones.